How are you feeling then, Terry? Lampard, Everton, today, expectations for the season. How are you feeling after that loss with Chelsea?
I'm a bit gutted, really. I think Everton would have been full value to get something out of the game. I just think it just wasn't our day. The injuries rolling in straight away, and I think on the strength of the game, I think a draw would have been fair. But that's just the way it goes in the Premier League, isn't it? I mean, Chelsea had the cutting edge when it counted. We sort of gifted them the penalty, but they took their chance and we never.
Yeah, it must be frustrating, really, Terry, because, Chelsea had a lot of the ball, but ultimately you've lost by a penalty that was, in my opinion, could have been avoided. And then you maybe battled to a point. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin out, a few crosses into the box. You'd have fancied him getting on the end of. That injury to Godfrey really on is really unfortunate. And I hope it's not going to be too long because I think he's a fantastic player for you. But what do you think? I've spoken to a few Everton fans about Lampard. Some of them are really believing that he can, really build something at Everton. And some people are like, I think it's going to be more as the same as last year. Does he really have an identity that fits in with what Everton are trying to do? What are your thoughts on Lampard and the season ahead? Are you optimistic or do you think it could get worse?
No, I'm optimistic. I mean, I think what Everton need now is just a period of stability. I think everyone's got Lampard as the favourite to be sacked early. I don't think there's any chance of him being sacked early. I'd be very surprised if he was sacked at all. I think something would have to really go wrong. Lampard, I think he communicates better than a lot of the previous managers we've had. And I think that goes a long way with the supporters. They've really got behind him. And as far as identity goes, I think you could see today, there is an identity. He's changed the formation to a back three. They looked well organised. They looked robust, aggressive. They just lacked that, killer instinct up front just because of players missing. But the window's still open, so they might be able to change that. But I don't think Lampard's in as much danger as people think. I'm optimistic for the season. I'd like to go forwards and just get ourselves on a stable foot now. Just hopefully just well away from the relegation zone and kick on from there.
Yeah, I was just looking at your next three games. I think you've got Villa away, Forest at home, and then Brentford away. I mean, look, if you don't pick up points there, then you probably are going to end up being down the bottom end of the table again. And maybe Lampard does deserve a bit of pressure in that sense. But I remember Lampard before he became a manager of Derby County, and he spoke so well. I think he's, like you say, his persona and understanding of the game cannot be argued with. But I suppose you've hit the nail on the head there. You've lost Richarlison. They need, especially with injuries. Calvert-Lewin didn't play much last year. Godfrey could be out for a while. 3.5 weeks left in the transfer window. I suppose most Everton fans would be interested in this. Is there money there? Everton have spent money in the past, or are they now looking to not spend money? Do you think the money's there to go and get him some signings and boost that Everton chances this season?
I think there's money there to do some business. I don't think there's big money there, which is what we've really, come unstuck with in previous windows. We've wasted money and threw big money at players that don't really deserve it. Whereas now we're trying to make it work for us a little bit more and make it go further. So, you'll probably see we've still got a couple of loan slots left. 2 domestic and 1 foreign loan slots. We'll probably use up all of them. We're probably going to bring in another 1 or 2 players. There was one player, Onana from Lille, who was in the stand today. I think that's more or less done. So we probably will improve the squad before the end of the month, but we just badly need it in the attacking areas. I think we're well stocked in very specific areas of the pitch, like centre midfield, now centre back. But up front, there's just Calvert-Lewin, who's injured for several weeks, and Solomon Rondon, who isn't really a Premier League player anymore. So we need to really get it right because we haven't got lots of money to go and get multiple targets in the same areas. We've got to make sure we get it right, and it's about time, really.
Yeah, and just finally, Terry, I mean, it's opening day. You've only lost 1-0. I mean, I hate saying that because you've only lost 1-0, but you've lost. But aspirations for the season, I don't think today moves the needle much on that for Everton fans. Chelsea 1-0 loss, you could see that happening. Maybe you could have got a draw, like you say. But the aspirations for the season, I've listened to Everton fans over the years. Sometimes there's hope of a top 4 or a top 6 or a top half. or, not in a relegation battle. So what is your aspirations as an Everton fan for this season? What's realistic?
I think, to be realistic, I think the upper part of the table are just a no-go. We've spent several years hemorrhaging our better players and replacing them poorly. So I think now we've got to look at ourselves as in the first year of a rebuild, of a reset. So I would take a 12th, 13th, something like that. It's not very ambitious, but it's nice and comfortable. It's nice and safe. We've obviously got a new stadium coming in a couple of years, and I think Everton just want to have a drama-free couple of years to go into there to make sure we're still in the Premier League. So if you can give me 10 double-digit points away from the relegation battle, I will take that. I don't think the position in the table is as important as that stability. So anywhere from 10th to 14th, as long as we're nice and safe.
Thanks to Terry for popping on. Interesting insight there. Felt they were a little bit unlucky not to get a point against Chelsea. And that's where Everton are at the moment. That sort of mid-table to bottom half situation for Everton. I mean, I've got to say, I think Everton should be better than that. But I sort of do agree with what Terry's saying. A bit of stability. You can't just go from relegation to top 6 or top 8 in this Premier League anymore. That's something that takes a bit of time.